being willing to come and share, Kari. And after she's finished, in a few moments, we're going to have prayer together for her. So, Kari, this is what we prayed about. Here we go.
I'm shaking. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I always wanted to do that. My name is Kari Salinas, and I'm going to be telling you how God changed my life. I've been part of Temple Baptist for about 13 years now, ever since I was 6 years old. Growing up, I was a very active child, and I fell in love with sports at a very young age. I played softball, basketball, ran track, wrestled, and even joined a mixed martial arts gym. After graduation, I was involved in 2 jobs, and on top of that, I was training for cage fights. Since I was so busy, I didn't even notice the changes in my body. Before the diagnosis, although I knew God personally, I was unhappy and could not find satisfaction in myself and what I had. I was frustrated with my life, and I felt like I was left behind while my other friends went off to college or the military. I even wanted to join the Air Force, and I started calling recruiters, but no one called me back because God had other plans for me. One Saturday morning, I was cleaning my room, and I was on my knees a lot. By that night, they felt a little sore, but by Sunday night, I couldn't even walk, for the pain was too much for me. On Monday, I saw my nurse practitioner, and she prescribed me some Vicodin for my pain, but she noticed I had a fever of 101. I had some blood drawn and was sent back home. That night, I got a call. The lady on the phone stated that my hemoglobin count, which is the red blood cells, was at 5.5 when it should be at 12, and I learned that people die when it's at 4. I was rushed to Center Memorial, where I got a blood transfusion. That Thursday, I met Dr. Kiwan, who was from Beirut, Lebanon, with a thick, heavy accent, and he was always had a smile on his face, and he always knew how to make me laugh. That day, he drew more blood to test. On that next Monday, on April 1st, of all days, I received the diagnosis of acute lymphoblastic leukemia and was given only 4 weeks left to live. My sight became blurry, and I felt so unreal. I was waiting for the words April Fools to come out of Dr. Kiwan's mouth. And although that would have been a sick joke, I would have rather taken a sick joke over the actual reality I was about to live. I was instantly admitted to the hospital. I felt my world crash around me, and I could hardly focus on anything. I was terrified. This illness was my own body turning against itself. And it wasn't a physical cut or bruise or scratch. I could touch and see that I could see the healing, and that made the unknown scarier, and that all I could do was wait. But the strangest thing happened the moment I was put in the hospital room. All of the pain, crying, and anger had stopped, as if God had told me everything is going to be okay. I even posted a picture on Facebook of myself the first night in the hospital to show everyone I had a huge smile on my face. But that night was the most restless night I had. I would fall asleep, and I suddenly felt like I was back in my own bed at home, and that the events of the day were just part of a dream. I would then suddenly jerk awake, and I would hear the constant hum of the IV machine, and I realized that I was in the hospital. I said a silent, short prayer asking for comfort, and I soon fell back to sleep. Those next couple of weeks would be a roller coaster of emotions, but little did I know that my prayers would be answered, and it would show me just how powerful God really is. After just two days of receiving chemo, the cancer levels in my blood went from 60% to 0%, and my doctor then knew I was in remission and was astonished at my recovery, stating that he had never seen anything like this before. I had many friends and family members visit me, and they brought me gifts, tons of laughter, and when we said goodbye, everyone gathered around me, and we said a prayer. Pastor Perry, Linda, and Jessica Klink were the first people to visit me. That set a good vibe in the room, and it gave me peace in my heart. To top it off, my brother Chris turned out to be a match for my donor for stem cells. That itself is a miracle, because there are patients out there who have 8 or 9 siblings, and none of them are a match. I underwent the transplant with ease on June 20th, which only took 11 minutes, and celebrated afterwards with having a cupcake. Just 16 days after the transplant, I was discharged from the hospital and am now the holder of the title Fastest Recovery After a Transplant. I no longer have a catheter in my chest, and I only have 1 more spinal chemo. I am amazed at how fast this has all happened, and I have learned a lot. I've learned that since I have received my brother's stem cells, if I ever have to get my DNA tested, it will register as male. Everyone laughs at that. God has changed me not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually. He has made me realize that I need to appreciate the things and people I have. It took cancer to make me realize that. I couldn't have got through this alone. I have amazing parents who I love and thank very, very much. They stuck by my side, no matter how hard it was on them. Chris, my brother, who's always been a hero to me since he joined the Army, is now an even bigger hero to me. He saved my life, and I couldn't be happier to call him my brother. I have fantastic employers at Tinder Barbecue, which some of you have seen me work at. They still let me have a job there to help me get back on my feet. I realized I have incredible friends who have a special place in my heart, along with my equally incredible boyfriend, Matt, who stayed with me almost every night. He called me beautiful every time he saw me, despite the fact I was bald, all broke out, and throwing up every 5 minutes. I'm thankful that God created a boy in Beirut, Lebanon, who would one day become my doctor and tell me every time he saw me, you will be fine. He tells me he loves me, and we've become good friends. We're even friends on Facebook. I apologize if I did not mention anyone else who's prayed or come to see me. There was a lot of people, and I probably don't remember some of you that come to see me because I might have been out of it, but God knows who you are, and He's heard your prayers, and I thank all of you. I've learned to never underestimate the power of prayer. Everyone should believe that God has a plan for you and that He won't put anything in your path that you can't overcome. He has given me a second chance at life, and from the beginning, He was there for me, and I knew that my life was only on hold to bring Him glory, not ending. And I go by the verse, Philippians 4:13, and it has been a very important verse in my life recently, and it is, I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. Thank you for many prayers that have supported me over these past months. Thank you, Pastor.